On the peak of the majestic Mount Olympus, an air of expectation hung among the gods as Hera prepared to give birth. The room was adorned with flowers and golden lights that reflected the grandeur of the home of the gods. However, this anticipation turned to horror when the cries of a newborn echoed through the hall. Hera, upon seeing her son, Hephaestus, with a deformed and fragile body, felt a mix of repulsion and despair. "Why did you do this to me?" she shouted, her voice echoing like thunder. "A child like this so grotesque." The disdainful look she cast at little Hephaestus made the other gods exchange uneasy glances. Zeus, her husband, tried to intervene, but his words were lost in the face of the goddess's fury. "I cannot accept a child who does not look like a god," Hera roared, her eyes, filled with tears of rage, fixed on little Hephaestus, who cried, not understanding the reason for such rejection. In a fit of anger, she approached the cradle, her hands trembling with emotion. "You do not belong to me. You do not belong in this place." With a brutal movement, Hera hurled Hephaestus from the mountaintop. The fall was long and desolate. The wind sliced against the skin of the little god as he plummeted toward the sea. His fragile and defenseless body finally found the deep waters, where the nymphs, graceful and benevolent creatures, rescued him. They enveloped him in their mists and took him to a safe haven in the ocean's depths. "You are a gift from the sea," said one of the nymphs, caressing Hephaestus's face. "Here, you will learn to forge your own story." Over the years, the nymphs taught Hephaestus to transform his pain into art. With every hammer strike and every spark, he molded not only the metal but also his own identity. "Look at what you can create," encouraged another nymph as he worked fervently. Hephaestus, now no longer just a rejected boy. He was becoming a skilled blacksmith, determined to one day return to Olympus and claim his place among the gods. Time passed, and the flame of determination burned ever stronger in his heart. He knew that, to be accepted, he would need to do something grand. Hephaestus stepped onto Mount Olympus with a mix of nervousness and determination. The air was thick with tension. The gods, for the most part, looked at him with disdain, as if the deformity that had driven them away still lingered. However, the smith god did not let himself be intimidated. With a dramatic gesture, he revealed the throne he had forged, gleaming and adorned with intricate details. "This is a gift for you, mother," said Hephaestus, his voice echoing among the gods. The gazes turned to Hera, who was seated in her majestic armchair. She raised an eyebrow, intrigued, but her expression soon transformed into a cynical smile. "And what makes you think I would accept a gift from you, Hephaestus? You've always been an embarrassment to me." "Please, mother," Hephaestus insisted. "Give this gift a chance. It is more than just an object. It is a manifestation of my love and my need to be accepted." Hera, still reluctant, stood and approached the throne. As she sat down, an intense glow emanated from the structure. The gods around fell silent, watching closely. But suddenly, Hera's expression changed. Her eyes widened, and she tried to get up, but the throne held her captive. "Hephaestus, what is this?" she shouted, rage and panic rising in her voice. "It is a throne that symbolizes the truth, mother," Hephaestus replied, his voice steady. "You rejected me, but I demand to be recognized as your son. Accept me or remain imprisoned." The tension in the room escalated. Murmurs among the gods intensified. Athena, watching from a distance, murmured to Poseidon, "He cannot be serious. This is insane." Poseidon shook his head, both amazed and concerned at the same time. "You cannot do this, Hephaestus," exclaimed Ares, interrupting the silence. "Free her now." "No, Ares," said Hephaestus, with renewed determination. "The time has come for the truth to be revealed. I am no longer the son you despise. I am Hephaestus, the god of the forge, and I deserve your respect." The gods began to murmur among themselves, the tension palpable in the air. Hephaestus felt the strength of his anger pulsing within him, but also a growing hope that perhaps, this time, his mother would accept him. He needed Hera to understand that his appearance did not define his worth, that behind his deformity was a heart longing for love and recognition. And in that decisive moment, he was determined to fight for it. Hephaestus watched the sunsets glow reflecting on the sea, his heart pounding with a mix of hope and uncertainty. The marriage with Aphrodite was a risky step, but he believed it could bring the acceptance he so desired. He approached the goddess of beauty, who was sitting on a tree trunk, her gaze distant. "Aphrodite," he began, his voice firm yet softly nervous. "I know our marriage may seem like an obligation, but I want you to know that I admire you deeply. Together, we can bring harmony to Olympus and free my mother." The goddess turned to him, her blue eyes shining like the sky, but there was a mix of hesitation in her gaze. "Hephaestus, I don't know if I am the best choice for you. You are a formidable god, but I am different." "Different?" "Aphrodite, you are the very embodiment of beauty and love. Together, we could overcome any adversity." Hephaestus felt the weight of his deformity, but he struggled to maintain his confidence. "Zeus believes this will restore order to Olympus. Please think about it." Aphrodite sighed, the internal struggle evident on her face. "Zeus always has his plans, doesn't he? But what do I truly want, Hephaestus? What could I offer you that isn't just a symbol of duty?" Before Hephaestus could respond, Zeus approached, his gaze paternal and authoritative. "Aphrodite, this marriage is more than just an arrangement. It is an opportunity to restore peace. Hephaestus deserves this chance, and so do you. Think about how this could benefit us all." The goddess hesitated, but the pressure from the supreme god was undeniable. "All right, Hephaestus, if this is what you want, I will marry you." The ceremony was grand, decorated with flowers and adornments that reflected the magnificence of Olympus. Hephaestus was nervous, but the determination to bring peace kept him steady. However, as the guests gathered, he couldn't help but notice the distance that still existed between him and Aphrodite. During this celebration, Hephaestus danced with a smile, but his gaze often sought hers. "Are you happy, Aphrodite?" he asked in a moment of privacy. She looked away, her voice low. "I am here, Hephaestus. That must mean something, right?" He felt a pang of sadness. "Yes, but I don't want you here out of obligation. I want you here for love. Love is a complex word, Hephaestus. I don't know if I can offer that to you." The sincerity in her words cut like a blade. Hephaestus forced a smile, but doubts began to root in his mind. He wondered if the love he sought truly existed between them, or if it was merely a mirage forged by the need for acceptance. The party continued, but in his heart, a shadow of insecurity began to sprout, questioning whether his desire to be loved by Aphrodite was just a distant dream. As Hephaestus worked in his forge on Olympus, the sound of the hammer striking metal echoed through the room, mixing with the heat of the flames. He was focused on his latest creation, an armor that reflected his skill and pain. However, his mind was restless, thinking of Ares' words that still reverberated in his ears. "You will never be truly loved." The cutting phrase from the god of war tormented him, making him question his worth and position among the gods. Amidst this internal storm, Hephaestus decided to step out of the forge for a moment to clear his mind. He walked to the garden of Olympus, where the flowers shone under the sunlight. Yet even there, his peace seemed elusive. The whispers of the gods surrounded him, and he couldn't help but overhear fragments of conversations floating in the air. Ares and other gods were gathered in a corner, and curiosity, combined with distrust, led him to approach. "He is a blacksmith, but he cannot forge love," he heard Ares say, laughing with disdain. "Aphrodite will never love him. He is merely an artist who settles for creating weapons for others." Those words pierced Hephaestus like a sharp blade. He hid behind a column, his mind swirling with the pain and anger he felt. What more did he need to do to be accepted? Determined to confront Ares, Hephaestus took a deep breath and emerged from the shadows. "Ares!" His voice echoed with unexpected strength, attracting the attention of the god of war and the others. "Do you have something to say about me? Or do you only hide behind your bravado?" Ares smiled, but there was a glint of disdain in his eyes. Ah, Hephaestus, the blacksmith who thinks he's a god. You should know that beauty and love aren't forged with metal. They are born from desire, and you will never be the chosen one. Hephaestus felt a wave of indignation rise in his chest. You know nothing about me. It's not just about outer beauty. True strength lies in being accepted, in being seen for who we truly are. You may have strength, Ares, but it is fragility that makes us human. As the words of Hephaestus, though heavy with pain, seemed to strike a sensitive chord in Ares, the god of war hesitated, and Hephaestus, feeling the adrenaline coursing through his veins, continued, "If you wish to win Aphrodite, do so honestly. Do not underestimate me. I can forge not only weapons, but also truths." Ares laughed, but Hephaestus sensed something restrained in his gaze. The confrontation left Hephaestus shaken, but his determination grew. He returned to the forge, consumed by rage and the need to prove his worth. With a gleam in his eyes and newfound resolve, he decided to use his blacksmithing skills to create something powerful, something that could change the fate of Olympus and perhaps his own life. Hephaestus was nervous, but also eager to show the gods what he had created. The atmosphere of the banquet was charged with anticipation, and the gods settled into their thrones, murmuring about the latest gossip of Olympus. He approached the central table, where a gleaming blade was displayed, the magical sword he had forged. With a firm gesture, he raised the sword, drawing everyone's attention. "This is the sword of truth," Hephaestus announced, his voice echoing through the hall. "It will reveal the true nature of each of you, exposing your hidden intentions." The murmurs intensified, and the faces of the gods displayed a mix of curiosity and apprehension. "Do you really think we have something to hide?" Athena questioned with a challenging look. "Each of us has secrets," Hephaestus replied, his gaze fixed on the goddess of wisdom. "And this sword does not lie." With a decisive movement, Hephaestus activated the sword, and an intense light radiated from it, enveloping everyone present. Soon, the gods began to speak, unable to contain their true emotions. Aphrodite, with tears in her eyes, revealed, "I always feared I would never be enough for you, Hephaestus. I didn't want to hurt you, but my heart. And do you think this is love?" Ares cut in, his voice laden with sarcasm. "You are nothing more than a tool in my war, Hephaestus." Ares' words sliced through the air like a sharp blade, and Hephaestus felt rage bubbling inside him. But the sword continued to reflect the truths that each god tried to hide. Hera, upon hearing the confessions, shrank in her throne. "What have I done to my son?" she murmured, despair evident in her voice. Tension mounted as Ares, exposed as a traitor, stood up, his piercing gaze fixed on Hephaestus. "You cannot accuse me, blacksmith. I am a god of war, and the war you promote is not only against enemies, but against those you love." Hephaestus responded, his voice unwavering. However, before he could continue, Ares lunged forward, ready to attack. But the sword, in response to the violent impulse of the god of war, reflected his own strength. A flash of light enveloped Ares, and he found himself injured, falling to his knees. The other gods recoiled in shock as chaos spread throughout the banquet. Hephaestus watched the turmoil with a mix of satisfaction and fear. He had managed to expose the dark truths, but what would happen now with the relationships among the gods? Hephaestus positioned himself before the gods, his firm voice echoing through the vast hall of Olympus. "I demand that Ares and all present here apologize for their offenses, and that Hera be freed from the throne that imprisons her." Hephaestus's gaze was penetrating, filled with a determination that surprised even the most skeptical. Hera, still seated on the throne, felt the weight of her actions. The contempt that once seemed justified now oppressed her. With a deep sigh, she finally spoke, her voice heavy with regret. "My son, I acknowledge my mistake. I apologize for not seeing your true essence." The gods, stunned, watched in silence as the scene unfolded before them. Ares, who had seemed so self-assured until then, felt a wave of shame wash over him as he realized the impact of his words and actions. "I should never have underestimated you, Hephaestus. Your strength lies not only in your talent, but in your capacity to forgive and unite." The tension in the air began to dissipate, as if a spell had been broken. Hephaestus, sensing the fragility of the emotions around him, decided it was time to transform resentment into harmony. "I will use the sword I forged not to harm, but to heal. Let it reveal the true beauty that lies in the acceptance of imperfections." He raised the magical sword, and a soft light emanated from it, enveloping the gods in a mantle of understanding and empathy. Each began to see the struggles and insecurities of the others, and thus the bonds of rivalry began to unravel. With a gesture, Hephaestus called Hera to step forward. "Mother, the true beauty lies in embracing who we are, with all our flaws. Together, we can build an Olympus where everyone feels accepted." Hera, touched by his words, approached and, with tears in her eyes, embraced her son. "You are more than I ever imagined, Hephaestus. You have taught me that love is the most powerful force there is." The other gods, inspired by Hephaestus's act and Hera's sincerity, began to join in a circle. The words of recognition and forgiveness echoed through the hall, resonating like a melody of redemption. Hephaestus, in his purest essence, became a symbol of acceptance and love, and for the first time, he truly felt part of the divine family.